Tonight, we are taking a close look at two giant storms threatening land. One in the Pacific, Hurricane Ana, Category 1, taking aim at Hawaii, though at this point, we're hoping it's expected to pass just south of the islands, avoiding a direct hit, but bringing heavy rain. Now, in the Atlantic, Hurricane Gonzalo, Category 3, wind gusts up to 160 miles an hour, threatening major damage, unfortunately, as it moves onshore on Bermuda right now. NBC meteorologist Dylan Dreyer is there.
Angry seas erupted today as the massive Hurricane Gonzalo bears down on Bermuda. Damaging winds, 40-foot waves, and a dangerously high storm surge slamming the island. Looking at a map, Bermuda looks like the tiniest little speck out in the ocean. So how could it possibly stand up to such a huge storm? Well, imagine Bermuda like a stick in the water, and the water just simply goes around it, as opposed to that snowplow effect we're so used to on the United States. Conditions have been deteriorating here since early this afternoon as this Category 3 Hurricane Gonzalo passes just to our west. It should start to race away as we go after midnight tonight, and conditions should dramatically improve.
It's another dangerous night ahead for nearly 30 million Americans as an already deadly outbreak of severe weather moves to the north and east. You see it there, a huge system already spawning tornadoes. The watches and warnings will continue throughout this night. NBC meteorologist Dylan Dreyer monitoring it all from Charlotte.
From Alabama to the Carolinas, a massive storm system packing high winds and heavy rain pushed its way across the southeast today. It spawned 2 tornadoes in the metro Atlanta area.
People's houses are just totally gone. They're having to rummage through their stuff.
Wesley Cagle's family felt their house shake at 6 this morning. Broken tree limbs punctured the house. Fortunately, no one was hurt.
Let's just look at how strong those winds are.
Tornado warnings sounded across North Carolina today.
Take shelter right now.
In Lawndale, an hour west of Charlotte, high schoolers forced from class to hunker down in a hallway. This storm spread 800 miles across more than a dozen states. At least 10 tornadoes have been confirmed and hundreds of severe weather reports. 2 people were killed. A 75-year-old woman died after a tree fell on her home in Alabama. And in Arkansas, neighbors are rallying around a family of a Marine who died after an EF2 tornado tore through his family's home. His wife remains in critical condition. His 3 children are okay.
You know, I see the eye going right over the island nation of Bermuda. Here's a live shot here from PTZTV.com. You can start to see the wind starting blowing some of these trees, but we're still hundreds of miles away from where this storm is going to make landfall. Something else I'm watching this morning, Chris, is that the eye seems to be getting smaller. Think of an ice skater at the Olympics. When she pulls her arms in, she spins faster. When that happens, we could get more spin. Right now, like, they need that. The wind is 130 miles per hour here. The waves are 40 feet high. The storm surge will be at least 10 feet from all directions, and it's moving right over Bermuda as either a Category 4 where we are now, 130 miles per hour, and the forecast is for it to die a few miles per hour, but 115. Here's exactly what Bermuda looks like. Here's the island nation of Bermuda. So for a while, as the eye goes right over the island, we're going to get waves from this way. And then as the eye goes by, the waves are going to be coming from this way. So both sides of the island will get surge. Certainly there will be damage here in Bermuda. Right now, we just don't know how much. If that eye tightens up, it will be significantly worse.
So important developments now, that earthquake off the coast of El Salvador. Ivan Cabrero once more with us this hour for the very latest. Ivan, what you got?
In fact, I think what's happened is they took this down a little bit, 7.3. That may not sound like a lot, but it is, as far as how much energy is released. And what they've also done, as far as the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, they have reevaluated the entire event, and they have decided that this is no longer posing a significant threat as far as tsunami waves reaching coastlines. So that is the advice that they're giving local governments across the region here. El Salvador may still decide to keep up their tsunami warning, but the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center has essentially advised them that this is no longer, this event, the 7.4 major earthquake, now a 7.3, is no longer a significant threat as far as a tsunami. As I mentioned before, I still think because of the intensity here, we could still be dealing with some damage as a result of the shaking from the quake itself, because it's so close to the shoreline here, but it did happen underwater, and I think basically the depth is the key here, and that is why we're not talking about a significant displacement of water. If this was more shallow, there's less essentially energy to get to, right? So that's why we are talking about this probably now being over. We'll keep you posted if there are any changes, of course, but they have issued now their final advisory on this event.
Do begin with that powerful Hurricane Gonzalo, which made landfall on Bermuda overnight. Residents stayed inside while the eye of the hurricane came over the island.
This morning, they're waking up, finally getting a chance to see the exact kind of damage that Gonzalo left behind. Dylan was there through it all. She is live in Bermuda for us again this morning with the latest. Dylan, what have you seen?
You know, we saw a wild night last night. It was incredible that the eye moved through and then the height of the storm followed. It was mostly occurring overnight, so we have yet to go out and see the damage, but most of the island is without power. And so far from what we've seen here at our hotel, Hurricane Gonzalo slammed into Bermuda last night. A direct hit with winds whipping at least 110 miles per hour. The massive swirl swallowed the tiny island as it made landfall just after dark. Rain and wind battered Bermuda quickly. 85% of the island lost power. Boats in the picturesque harbor tossed in the waves. Once the wind did its damage, ripping into homes and buildings, then the main concern became the storm surge and the destructive power of gigantic waves. So I've been keeping an eye on the radar, and the eye wall is making its way on shore right now. So that's when we see the strongest winds and the heaviest rain out of this system. We'll see what happens when the eye crosses over Bermuda. Tourists who chose to ride out the storm started out with confidence, but a twinge of doubt crept in as the wind picked up. The destruction from Gonzalo's could rival Hurricane Fabian, which struck Bermuda 11 years ago, with enough force to cause $300 million in damage. Today, rebuilding begins for the world-famous vacation spot. And now Hurricane Gonzalo is racing away. We're actually seeing fairly clear skies here. The surf is still churned up, but we have a bit of a breeze, but the storm itself is racing away. In fact, it's about 230 miles away from Bermuda now. It is still a Category 2 hurricane with winds at 105 miles per hour, but it's not really going to affect any more land masses. Just want to point out, though, the East Coast is now going to feel the effects of the dangerous rip currents all weekend long. So even though the storm didn't hit the eastern seaboard, those waves certainly will, and rip currents will be a huge threat, guys.
One of the things I fear about Ebola is that it could spread more widely in Africa. If this were to happen, it could become a threat to our health system and the health care we give for a long time to come. Our top priority, our focus, is to work 24/7 to protect Americans. That's our mission. We protect Americans from threats, and in the case of Ebola, we do that by a system at multiple levels. There are no shortcuts. Everyone has to do their part. There are more than 5,000 hospitals in this country. There are more than 2,500 health departments at the local level. We're there to support. We're there with world-class expertise, and we're there to respond to threats so that we can help protect Americans. And we're always open to new ideas. We're always open to data because our bottom line is using the most accurate data and information to inform our actions and protect health.
In our new NBC Wall Street Journal poll, 41% of Americans now think we need troops on the ground to defeat ISIS. This week, the U.S. is concentrating nearly all its airstrikes on Kobani. The Syrian town is barely holding off attacks. Defense ministers meeting with President Obama agreed defeating the Islamic State won't be easy.
This is going to be a long-term campaign. There are not quick fixes involved. We're still at the early stages.
In Iraq, there's deep concern about ISIS pushing into Baghdad and the inability of Iraq's military to stop them.
ISIS can still lob mortar shells, conduct suicide attacks, and create pandemonium inside of a city like that.
Russia's ready to help, providing more weapons and maybe training to the Iraqis.
We both recognize that ISIL has absolutely no place in the 21st century.
But this fight goes beyond the battlefield. What's fueling the momentum, experts say, is the group's ability to draw young people through social media.
You look at some of it, and it's about as slick as I've ever seen.
Forcing the U.S. and its allies to look beyond the battlefield for answers.